Thunderfoot being a disingenuous little bitch? Get out of here. I became a fan of Thunderfoot when I first watched one of his science videos, and I was hooked because here's a man, clearly a scientist. He has the credentials, the education, everything. He's a scientist, and he's making these debunking videos of people basically distorting science to sell you shit. And he uses math, he uses science in his videos. He shows his work, and it was very interesting. And I think in a span of about a couple, maybe 3 or 4 days, I just binge watched all of his science videos. I watched all of them. I know he also makes anti-feminist videos and anti-SJW videos. I never really got into those because they just didn't interest me. In his collection of videos, they didn't really interest me as much as his science videos. So I mostly ignored them until a month or two ago when he got into that spat with Sargon of Akkad, where I watched his videos on that, and I was just sitting there thinking, damn, this guy is just a giant disingenuous prick. I've seen a couple of his anti-Trump videos too, so I kind of had an inkling that he was disingenuous in his non-science videos. But that Sargon video, that's really what catapulted me into come on, what are you thinking, Thunderfoot? So now let's watch Thunderfoot make a political and science video in one. Which one do you think is going to portray itself most in this video? His scientific side or his disingenuous political side? Well, let's find out.
So, Trump's got a great idea. He's going to build a wall and make the sun pay for it.
So we're 15 seconds into his video, and he's already, you can hear him rolling his eyes at the idea of solar power. Yes, Mr. Scientist over here, who apparently loves the Earth so much that he thinks green energy is the wave of the future, is rolling his eyes at solar power because Trump suggested it. Oh, no. He'll get into his, quote, reasons for why he hates this particular green agenda.
Bruce Blakeman is a principal with the Sustainable Technology, Inc. His company submitted a blueprint design for solar panels on the border wall, and he joins us live.
It's kind of like solar freaking roadways, just solar freaking wallways.
I have to skip around a lot in his video because he's a 24-minute video here, and yet a lot of it is just regurgitating his old videos, making fun of solar freaking roadways because, keep in mind, he wants to compare solar freaking roadways to this solar wall idea here.
Sell the electricity to the grids in the southwest of the United States and Mexico, so Mexico pays for part of the wall.
No, that's not Mexico paying for the wall. That's you selling electricity to Mexico.
And the disingenuousness starts already. If the wall produces electricity, and if we sell some of that electricity to Mexico, how is his statement not true, which was Mexico will pay for part of the wall?
Yeah, but oddly enough, even though Trump now thinks that it's a great idea to put solar panels on things to make things pay for themselves, but at the same time, he's not really done that with his own buildings or his, say, sun-drenched resort in Mar-a-Lago.
How the fuck is this the point? So he can't think solar energy is a good idea because he hasn't put a bunch of solar panels on his private properties? Am I understanding you correctly, Thunder Disingenuousness?
In fact, like most things Trump says, it's not actually that hard to find him saying the diametric opposite. So let's hear Trump saying that solar power is a waste of time.
So I think wind is fine. But would you invest government money in alternative fuels? Would you do that, or would you just let it go?
I would spend money on certain things. Now, solar always sounds better than it is. You know, you have a 36-year payback.
And that was only about 1 year ago.
So I thought this was a solar wall busted video, and yet so far all you have done is given Trump a bunch of shit. Regardless of what Trump said in the past, what the fuck does that have to do with the idea of putting solar panels on the wall? Can you pull your head out of your rectum long enough to make a relevant, coherent point? Not only that, but is that clip the best you can do? A clip in which Trump clearly says he would support wind energy production in certain locations. And lastly, while he did downplay solar energy, the question he was asked was, would he spend money on alternative fuels? To which he answered, I would spend money on certain things. He did not say solar was a waste of time, like you said, he said. Oh boy, let's speed this up a little bit to see if he finally circles back to silly things like the solar panels and the solar wall and, busting it.
Great idea. Put solar panels on the wall and make it pay for itself. And that way you make the sun pay Mexico to pay for the wall. Or more accurately, you're just selling electricity to Mexico.
Finally, he is going to debunk solar walls like he did solar roadways. Yeesh, took him long enough.
And the crowd goes wild.
Oh, fuck me.
Why is the solar powered wall a dumb idea?
Yes, please tell me already. I'm begging you.
Well, let's start with the speculated origin of this idea.
Did you get to the president before he made that sort of semi-announcement that he's thinking of solar panels?
The rumor is that he saw us on Fox Business News, that he saw our design, and that he, in fact, started talking about it as a viable idea.
So when Thunderfoot said the speculated origin of this idea, by speculated, he's talking about the guy who is trying to pitch this idea to the federal government to make money. He's the guy who speculated this. Okay, Thunderfoot. Okay.
Well, that's great, because it just so happens that this guy also showed the design of his solar wall to the people at Fox and Friends and Fox Business Insider. Let's just see if our presenters on Fox and Friends and Fox Business Insider are dumb enough to be shown a picture of a solar-powered wall with no solar panels on it and say, wow, that's a really good design for a solar-powered wall. What the hell is wrong with you retards? The solar wall has no solar panels on it.
If only I had $1 for every time Thunderfoot was disingenuous, I could fucking build the wall myself. Thunderfoot, it's just an artist's rendition of what it would look like. Yes, the solar panels aren't drawn in the picture, but you can clearly see where they would be placed on top there. This is not the gotcha moment you think it is. It took me all of 30 seconds in Paint to produce this image. See, here are where the solar panels are supposed to go, Thunderfoot. You are being so ridiculous right now. It's not even funny. And no, this is not just tribalism on my part. I am saying you're being a fucking idiot because you're hoping, apparently, I truly do think you are hoping your audience is too stupid to realize this shit on their own. You're sitting here saying, look, there's no solar panels. Oh my God, they're idiots. And you are banking on the fact that people who watch your videos are going to just accept your word at face value and not question a damn thing you say. I'm right, aren't I, Thunderfoot? Aren't I?
I mean, hell, at least solar roadways put some solar panels in them.
And this man is a fucking scientist. Thunderfoot, that is a prototype of solar roadways. It is not an artist's rendition. Please tell me you know the difference. No, this company did not go out and build a prototype of a 30-foot tall wall complete with solar panels in it. That is just crazy to even suggest. Here's an artist's rendition of solar roadways. Are you going to sit here and say, well, as you can see, there's no actual solar panels. Those are just hexagons. So this is not this is not real. How can anyone take this seriously when those are just hexagons? You see, there's no solar panels in those hexagons.
This is a solar-powered wall with no solar panels.
Oh boy, let's just skip ahead to see if he ever gets around to busting the solar wall idea.
Okay, deep breath, deep breath. They're only the top-rated cable news network. Yeah, I can't expect them to spot minor design flaws like a solar-powered wallway has no solar panels on it. But even if it did have solar panels on it, this is still an outrageously dumb design.
Finally, 11 minutes into his video, he's finally going to pit away the partisanry bullshit and pit away regurgitating his old videos and pit away his being disingenuous. Let's get down to brass tacks. Bust this solar wall idea. Why is it a bad idea?
Now, if you want to get the most out of your solar panels, you want them flat and pointed directly at the sun. So if you're not going to track them or do anything sophisticated, that basically means that for this sort of latitude, your solar panels are essentially pointing straight up in the air. And to angle them over, especially angle them over at a very high angle, is essentially just throwing away most of the photons that you would get from the sun.
So finally, he gets to an argument here. Finally, he pits something forth to say why it's a bad idea and not simply because Trump supports it. Okay, and fair enough. He's saying where this is located in the world, the panel should be facing straight up, or as he says to begin with, ideally, because just like he said in his solar roadways video, they should be tracking the sun, right? And yet, look at this other proposal that was sent to the U.S. government. At the top of the wall, there would be a solar actuator connected to a 20-foot solar panel, which would produce 2/3 of the wall's energy. The actuator would move the panels to allow them to track the sun along its daily trajectory from east to west. This is yet another example of Thunderfoot being disingenuous. His entire video here makes it seem like this is the only idea in the running, or as if it's the only idea being considered, or as if it's already been selected to be the winner of the contract who's going to build this wall. It's not. There's been no selection done yet. There have been thousands of ideas sent into the government, and as you can see, apparently at least one of them takes into account his concern about it tracking the sun. His concern about the solar wall lacking solar panels, busted. His concern about the solar panels not tracking the sun, busted. Let's see what other bullshit he can pull out of his ass.
Now, the best you can do for electricity transport is high voltage transfer. So bear in mind that the minimum you're going to need is a high voltage line going the entire length of the border wall for electricity transport. Cool. So that's about $500,000 per mile for a 2,000 mile border wall. So it's basically $1 billion extra dollars right there. Building power lines is expensive, which is why if you take a look at where the power plants are in America, you'll notice they're kind of centered on where the people are.
Yes, that's right, folks. You have someone in favor of green energy here saying it's just too expensive to go forward with this green energy project. Also, look at the map he himself provides to debunk this theory that's too expensive to go forward with this project. So this map apparently shows where all of the power plants in America already are. Notice the border with California, there's already a lot of power plants there. Notice Arizona, it's not really that far away from the power plants that already exist. It's not like a huge stretch of the imagination. Okay, now Texas, I'll grant him, there's apparently, as far as power plant goes anyways, there's nothing along the border with Texas and Mexico. Here's an idea though, Thunderfoot. If that's your only objection, that these border walls would be too far away from everything, just build a regular wall in Texas and build this power plant wall the rest of the border. So again, your arguments are just so shitty and so pathetic. It's kind of sad.
Which brings us on to the next problem, is if you put $1 billion worth of solar panels out in the middle of the desert with no security, what's to stop those criminals from coming up and stealing all of your solar panels? You know, drive out in the middle of the night and bolt a load of the solar panels and just drive off with them. I mean, what are you going to do about it? Police it 24/7?
Yes, you heard that right. Thunderfoot is making the argument that this is a bad idea. This is a bad idea because what would stop a roaming gang a roaming gang of Mexican cartels from driving to the middle of nowhere at night, scaling a 15-foot wall. Scaling a 15-foot wall and taking the solar panels down, putting them in their truck, and then driving back to wherever to sell these on the presumably black market. Oh my goodness.
Hell, this isn't like having a solar-powered farm in your own country, where it's comparatively easy to catch the thieves just by putting the odd video camera up there and recording license plates.
Look at the size of that solar farm. And Thunderfoot is making an argument. Oh, it's totally safe here. All you have to do is put a camera somewhere in there to catch the license plate. And that makes this infinitely safer than putting them on a 15-foot wall at the border. Because you can put a license plate, you can put a license plate camera up there somewhere in this giant field. Oh my, this is ridiculous.
And the final reason why this is a really dumb idea, payback is a bitch. And that's payback in the sense of getting your money back.
So Thunderfoot, who gave Trump shit for pulling out of the Paris Accord because Trump felt it was too expensive for the U.S. to stay in, Thunderfoot is now saying this makes no sense, this solar wall makes no sense because it's too costly. Yes. Someone who cares for the environment so much, he thinks the U.S. should have stayed in the Paris Accord, is against this solar wall because it's too costly. Oh, man. This was his final point on busting the solar wall. And I don't want to say it was his worst point. That definitely has to be the criminal Mexican gangs tearing down the wall and selling it piece by piece. But this last argument, it's pretty stupid in its own right. There's about 8 minutes left in his video at this point, but as he said, that was his last point of busting the solar wall. The last 8 minutes is just him bashing Trump, talking about how that one design, the artist rendition, did not have solar panels in it again, over and over again, rehashing his old videos over and over again, and just being absolutely ridiculous. But there's one more part of his video I wanted to comment on.
And if you like scientifically competent media like this, well, at least scientifically competent enough to know when a solar-powered fence has no solar panels on it, you can support this channel directly through Patreon.
Yes, that is how he ends his video. With his credentials of scientifically competent media, by being able to recognize that in an artist rendition, they didn't yet draw in the solar panels. Yes, good catch, Thunderfoot. Good catch indeed.